But the natural fish would have a better strength than the man-produced fish.
Now that's the fear.
Yeah. That's why the numbers are going down.
There.
We did it up on the upper, up on our upper main, below the Grange Dam, and we raised 1 million fish in there. And what they were afraid of is those fish getting a virus. Bill Catcher here? Isn't that correct, Bill? They were afraid of those fish getting a virus and transferring it back into the native fish into the river. So what I kind of found odd at the time, but I'm not sure, and Bill would answer this maybe, is they took those fish that we raised up there, and we were quite successful because we had no kill rate. The canal was deep enough that the birds did not want to go down in there to get those fingerlings. So we raised almost all of them. It was almost 100%. But they would take those fish, tag them, they had a tagging process down there, and then release them in the Merced River. And that was the thing that I didn't quite get.
That was a rearing.
No, it wasn't a hatchery, it was rearing. We would get them this big and grow them to this big. And they were fingerlings.
That's a problem for percentage that we're all down there to be married off some of the animals.
But am I right on because it was the virus thing, why they didn't want to do that anymore?
They had to clean up facilities when it's protocol, and percent, they had a column there, and they wanted to protect them from the bottom out, so we're going to salmon and trout, and I could set up.
Yeah, Larry is an ex-employee of the district. He worked up in the Upper Main Canal for, I don't know, a number of years and ran Modesto Reservoir, so he's very knowledgeable about district operations up there and up in the Upper Main. Just wanted to let you know why you knew what you knew. But I think the bottom line is that the agencies have a problem with fish, with grow and throw.
If the global warming is valid and it increases the potential problems of very little snow in the mountains, are we going to be setting up an agreement such that we get into a real bind as a result of that occurring? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard the question in the back, but it had to do with global warming, and are we doing, by negotiating and running through the agreements, are we setting up something that is unforeseen? And I don't know the answer to that question. It may be. Because there's still debate on whether we actually have climate change. I think they call it climate change. I think that's what it's called, no longer global warming. Let me go to the back and then I'll come up here. Okay?
On the one slide, I think was April 27th, the Wolf said we raised the level. Is there any negotiation on that? I mean, because year to year, we get early, heat and spring earlier or later, just depends where the runoff starts coming. Is there any negotiating that timeline so that we can hold the water? I mean, because I know sometimes you got to dump it down the river because you can't do it in the.
Nick, we've taken a run at that with PID a couple of times with the Corps of Engineers, and just have gotten nowhere. They just seem to stick to this rigid curve, and we're asking for a flexible curve that addresses real-time conditions. For example, if you knew that you were in a drying period and you had 750,000 acre-feet of water coming out of the watershed, well, take it up into storage while you got it, while you can. But we could not get off square one with it.
At all. Because I mean,
we even offered to do the studies ourselves. We thought we could do it cheaper, faster, bring them the package. They ended up taking that whole question back to Washington, D.C. Couldn't be done.
Well,
pretty soon
that was a mistake.
Pretty soon what they put in front of us was a $3 million study for something we thought we could do in-house with our own staff. It just, we ended up walking away from the table. But we're going to try again, and there may be an opportunity through the quick relicensing to get at that question.
Yeah, because the tail end is fine. I mean, we can dump water at the end, we're not irrigating or anything like that, but if we can store that water earlier.
Right, in the spring.
Why is it that the hydroelectric plant is not considered renewable green energy? Where does that come from?
Are you going to give them the political answer?
It's about 8:10.
Is that about as green as it gets?
Huh?
Is that about as green as it gets?
It does. I'm going to give you two answers on this, and you can select the one that you want. Primarily, the reason that was given to us why hydro is not counted as renewable, large hydro, anything under 30 megawatts and below is counted as hydro, is that a number of the utilities would have met their 2010, 15, or 20% obligation. So therefore, there would have been no need to build wind farms, solar farms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so they didn't count it, therefore you're seeing solar farms and wind farms all over the place. Now that's one answer. The second answer is follow the money. Follow the money from the solar folks and the wind folks, and who actually helped get that legislation in play, or actually it was encouraged the governor to write its executive order to mandate utilities go to 33%. So those are two. You can pick which one you want, but those are the two responses as to why there is that. I got to go over here, Todd, and then I'll come back. Okay. Phil.
Helen or Walt, what's the real time of knowing what your snowpack is? I mean,
The water content of the
Q1 is typically
When you're
the
running the
forecast you can
dam.
use, right?
when you're running the dam with DID, when you make those decisions, how do you know what's up there? Do you know tomorrow or a week? I know you've got sensors. How do you know the percentages?
Well, okay, well, we've got the snow sensor, so we can always monitor, we can monitor that on a daily basis, but through the winter, when we get to April 1, we pretty much know what we've done. And a lot of times, you look historically, what happens in February is about what you get when you get to April. So if we use, say, the February 1 or the February 15th forecast going forward, that's generally about what materializes when it all comes to the end. Now, there's unusual springs and there's all sorts of aberrations to that, but generally that holds true. So we even know months ahead of that April 27th time.
I need to go back to Todd, and David, I'll come to you, and then to you, okay?
Yeah, I was going to address this gentleman's question about the reason hydro wasn't considered green. This is the 8-page response from the California Air Resource Board. It says, not including the largest hydro, I won't read it all. Not including the largest hydroelectric generator was a policy decision. The goal was to improve upon California's mix of generation sources, which is what Alan said. Moreover, the large hydro resources are for the most part limited to Northern California and the Sierra Nevada. By excluding large hydro, we established a level playing field for all utilities across the state. That's what, and then I got a little, this real quick. This right here is a map of where all the hydroelectric plants are in California in 2004. 411 hydroelectric plants. 90% of them produce over 30 megawatts a year. So 90% of California's greenest energy is not considered green.
They shut them all down in 4%.
Lights would go out. David?
Yeah, Alan, based on the 1997 flood, how realistic is that flood curve? Because obviously it didn't work then.
It's worked very well. That was such an unusual storm. Nobody could have predicted that. We had one half of the entire April through July runoff happen in 4 days. Now that dam worked damn well. It abated that maximum peak by one half. Instead of 59,000 acre or CFS coming down from Modesto, would have been 120,000 CFS. It would have worked.
Once it started overflowing, though, there was no control, right?
Not when it gets uncontrolled
Right.
release, no.
But I guess my point is, for that 1 year, have we been suffering for decades and decades and releasing too much water?
Well, that's another condition that the Corps of Engineers places on us. We can only release the amount of water not to exceed 9,000 CFS as measured at downtown Modesto. So we know we've got a reservoir that's filling up. We've only got 9,000 CFS we can even let go of. Otherwise, we exceed their target objective flow down in Modesto. We have tried to bump that up to a 20,000 CFS and couldn't get any lower.
So is the Corps of Engineers a federal agency?
Yes.
Oh, that's another battle I have to fight.
United States Army
You'll have
Corps
some
of
work
Engineers.
assignments as you leave tonight.
I have a question. When you have that problem with too much water in the dam, you have to release it. with the miles and miles of irrigation lines that we have between TID, MID, why can't we let that water off into the canals rather than in the river?
There's just not enough capacity. Our maximum capacity in our upper main is around 2,000 CFS, and on the Turlock side, it's maybe 3,000. That's 5,000 CFS, and when you've got flows that are 35, 50, 70,000, it's just not going to do anything.
Right. Could we then release some of it into the canals, and then that could go back into
Well,
the
we
groundwater?
did everything we could, and we've used every
To
safety
replenish your
valve
groundwater.
available.
Just a thought.
Yeah, no, let me also add to that is that the way that the city of Modesto has designed their storm drainage system, a lot of their facilities pump into our canals already. And so when you have major flooding events like we had in '97, a lot of our canals were full of water that was coming off the streets of the city of Modesto.
Mm.
So it performs a dual function.
Okay, Ellen, if I were to sort of try to quantify the 7 and 8 arrows that you have shot into the center, which is the Tuolumne River, you mentioned pre-14 water rights and you mentioned post-14 water rights. Ignoring the fact that the State Water Quality Control Board is trying to redefine water rights, what is the percentage of pre-14 rights, you know, knowing that water levels are up and down, but if all of the situations with everyone who's wanting something, there's only so much water, and there are domestic uses and municipal and industrial and farming. And of that we have rights to, what would be left to split up for all of us to have to fight over? Isn't that really the story that you're telling here? We have a reservoir that will hold so much water, and there's this much water that everyone else wants, which is going to leave very little for all of us to survive, have an economy, create jobs, and economic development.
There's a pecking order that gets created. Yeah. And I don't know if it's called Term 91. The state board uses some process to differentiate between the junior and senior water users. And our senior rights, post-14, would be held last.
Right.
And the people that are junior to us, post-14, have to give first.
But
So
not
there's an
all our
entire
rights are
pecking order.
14. Not all of our water rights are 14.
Right. The
So
majority
doesn't that
of
sort of-
ours are post-14. They're storage rights to put that water in the Don People.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you. And the reason why I don't have a good answer for you right now is because our modelers, part of the $15 million that we're spending, our modelers are running all the scenarios currently today. And I have sat down and talked with them because I'm real nervous about, quite frankly, the answer they're going to give us. The other thing that is becoming apparent to us is that there is a move afoot to essentially push water rights aside. And the agencies now are taking a look at equal proportion